we created our own Toastmaster group. And it meets the first, third, and fifth Friday of the month, which is today, by the way, directly after our meetings from 12 until 1. And then the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, they meet at a restaurant, so that even after you get a job, which of course all of you will, you can still continue to be part of that Toastmaster group. But the people that have gotten jobs, who have been part of Toastmasters, have almost always credited their Toastmaster membership as being a huge factor in their getting a job. That it gave them confidence, it helped them with their verbal presentation skills. And now when I see people give presentations, probably 80% of the time I'm thinking, needs to join the Toastmaster group. And I'm bad myself at uhs and ums and beginning every single sentence with so. So, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Bill Morita with the Toastmaster Special.
My name is Bill Morita. I'm the current president of Launchpad Toastmasters, and I'm here to welcome you to our presentation about Toastmasters here at Launchpad Yacht Club. And briefly, Toastmasters is an organization that is volunteer, that helps you learn about speaking and leadership and organization. There are other programs you can go to that cost real money that try to teach you the same things, but Toastmasters is your best bargain in that area. Now, we have two presentations that you'll be getting. The first one will be coming from Tina DeSouza, and let me read you briefly her bio. For most of her life, Tina thought of public speaking as something that other people did, but not something she could do. Although she would step up from time to time and give presentations and demos at work, she had a great deal of anxiety doing so. Who can relate to that? Great. After joining Toastmasters, a Toastmasters club in Herndon, Virginia in October of 2013, she was gently guided by her club to become an active and participating member. By the time she earned her first Toastmasters award, which is called Competent Communicator, a year later, she was hooked on public speaking. Here in Austin, she has taken advantage of being unemployed to immerse herself in Toastmasters. She is a member of not one, but 4 clubs, one of which is Launchpad Toastmasters. She credits Toastmasters for helping her find her own voice and for the courage to prevent her first real speech outside of Toastmasters, which is the presentation you are about to see. Allow me to introduce Tina DeSouza.
So, who loves looking for a job? Whoa, wait a minute. Isn't looking for a job fun? There's so many fun things you get to do. Tell me some of the fun things that you get to do. Not if you actually want a job. What are some of the fun parts of the job search process that you love? Networking, I heard networking. What else? How about resumes? Do you love writing resumes?
No, but editing them.
Editing, okay. We got somebody who can help you with that if you hate that.
I like the process. People tell me what to do that. And remind you that you're good at some things, but you're not doing so much like it.
We need that. We probably don't really get enough of that.
About volunteering at places you're interested in.
See, you guys are talking about all the good things about searching. I said what's fun about it. About your job search specifically. What do you have to do besides resumes, networking? How about your favorite thing? Interviewing. Do you like interviewing? I see some looks that tell me that there are many of you who are not too fond of interviewing. Well, I'm glad because I'm going to talk about these three things today. I'm going to talk about resume writing, networking, and interviewing. And as you know, the program is about Toastmasters, so I'm going to tell you how Toastmasters can help you with these specific things. But before I do that, I probably need to tell you what is Toastmasters. Some of you in this room probably don't know. So I'd like to hear from somebody who's never been to a Toastmasters meeting and never seen us in the back. What do you think we do at Toastmasters? Any, even if you've heard of us and kind of know? Excellent. I have a lot to teach you today. Okay. I want to tell you something that we often hear when people only hear Toastmasters. They think what we do is we sit around with champagne and we toast to each other. We don't do that. I'm telling you, alcohol would really make our meetings a lot more fun, but that's not quite what we do. People who know just a little bit about us consider us to be a public speaking organization, and that's really what we are. That's one of the primary things we do is we prepare people to be public speakers. But we do other things in Toastmasters that people are somewhat surprised about when they come to a meeting. And I'm going to be talking about some of those things as well, because some of those other things are things that are really going to help you with your job search. My Toastmasters journey started in Herndon, Virginia, as Bill said. And this is a picture of me and my mentor, Bill. This was taken on a very important day for me because this is the day that I earned my Competent Communicator Award. It took a year for me to do it, and Bill was with me every step of the way, and that's why he's smiling, because he saw me go from someone like this with my little piece of paper and I'm afraid to say anything, to almost the speaker that I am today. This particular day was important for another reason as well. This was the day that I told my club I'd be leaving because I was moving from Virginia to Austin, Texas. It was kind of a sad day. But what I was telling my club was, I gave a speech called "You Are Not a Tree," and I was telling them how I didn't want to be a tree anymore. My husband and I decided we needed a change. So we came to Austin without even knowing anything about it. We'd never been here when we decided to move here. We quit our jobs. We didn't have jobs to go to. We're not always the smartest people in town, but it's been quite an adventure, as you can imagine. My husband's now working at Dell, and I'm still looking for a job. So I'm with you. I'm a job seeker just like you, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how Toastmasters has helped me with my job search as well. Resume writing. We all love resume writing, right? Who's going to resume tweaking today? I am. I got to tell you, this is one of my problems. I keep tweaking my resume over and over and over again. The problem is, what do you put on a resume? You have so much life experience, it's hard to decide exactly what you put on your resume, right? Especially people my age and older, we have a lot of experience. How do we decide what to put? And moreover, how do we prevent our resumes from just being these boring bullet points? Toastmasters will help you with this thing called storytelling. If you go to any of Kathy's classes, you'll hear her talk about storytelling and how important it is, not only with resumes, but with your interviewing and with your networking. You have to learn how to tell your personal story. And you have to learn to find out what's interesting about you. You may think nothing, but there are a lot of things that are interesting about you. And I never realized it until I started giving speeches and people would say, "Oh my gosh, that was so interesting. I gave a speech about giving sub-Q fluids to a cat," and everybody was like, "What a great speech." I was like, who knew? There are all these interesting things about you. And you'll get to start with your first speech, because your first speech, called the icebreaker, it's just about you. But we don't get jobs through writing our resumes and sending them out into those black holes, do we? How do we get jobs? We heard about it just a moment ago. Someone said networking. Networking, if you come here, if you go to Kathy's classes, networking, networking, networking. And that's great. The problem is, we don't do it very well, do we? Most of us. Why not? What is the skill that we lack? And TJ did a presentation for those of you who have been here. 2 weeks he spent trying to get us to remember this one thing. One thing, listening. Listening's hard to do, isn't it? It's hard to do. We do something in Toastmasters that really helps you with your listening skills. We give you goals. I told you that we do more than public speaking, right? We have really 3 parts to our meetings. The first part is prepared speeches. Another approximately third of our meeting is spent on something we call evaluating. Speakers get evaluators. Our meeting gets evaluated. Somebody counts your ums and ahs, and somebody listens for your grammar. The interesting thing is when you start taking those roles, those listening roles, you realize very quickly, I'm going to have to get up in front of this group in a couple of minutes and say something meaningful. That goal, that simple goal, it sounds so simple, it really is. It's simple, and it's amazing that it works. Because when you know you're going to be in front of people like this, and you're saying, oh, I've got to say something, you learn to listen very carefully. It only took me about 2 times of being a speech evaluator before I was like, ah, I get the point. I get it now. If I listen to what this person is saying, if I stop thinking about me and really listen to what this person is saying, the stuff I need to say to help them, it just comes. It's just really easy. Once you learn how to listen, you can take that anywhere you want to go. And so when you go to networking events, it's very different because you no longer say, hello, my name is Tina. You say, hi, what's your name? And what do you do? And what do you want to do? It's a very different experience. And it takes off the pressure from you because you don't have to talk about yourself. Get someone else to talk about themselves. So what's going to happen is when you learn to listen and you network, of course, what's the next thing that happens? Yay! You have an interview! And this is where we all want to get to. We want to get to the point where we have an interview. And we're excited for a few days, and we're telling all our friends, I finally have an interview, and I'm really excited, and then this happens. Oh my gosh. 92% of Americans fear something about job interviews. And I think the other 8% are really either don't want the job or are comatose or something, because I think most of us fear something about a job interview. It may be different things that we fear, but there's something about job interviews that just makes us go, oh, right? And I know it because when I saw your faces when I talked about interviewing earlier, no one even said anything. You guys were just like, oh, yuck. One of the big things that we fear about interviewing is that we don't know what's going to happen. You can prepare. I would recommend going to Kathy's classes and the mock interviewing. And that's great, great practice. But you're always going to have that interviewer who says, hey, if you were a color, what color would you be? Oh, and you're sitting there, and what happens? What happens in your brain when you get a question like that? It goes blank. My brain does the opposite of what Victoria's brain does. My brain goes, oh my gosh, what does that have to do with this job? Why would they even ask me that question? There's no real answer to that question. I can't answer that question. And so much time has passed with my brain making all the excuses about why I can't even answer this question. I just wasted all that time that I could have been coming up with an answer. Interesting, huh? you prepared for this. You can't prepare for this, right? You can't prepare for that crazy question, can you? Turns out you can. The third thing that we do in Toastmasters meetings is this really cool thing called table topics. And it's very simple. All it is someone asks, there's a table topics master, and they pick someone, and they ask them a question, and the person answers the question in front of the whole group. The cool thing about it is that it kind of mimics the interview. It mimics that fear that you have. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, you still get a little bit of that anxiety about doing table topics, even people who are really good at it. So it's a good way to practice questions, just off-the-wall questions. And some Toastmasters clubs you go to, I'm telling you, their questions are so off-the-wall, they'll prepare you for anything you have to do. We like to stick to mostly job-related things. That's one of our focuses. We're going to show you how table topics works in a few minutes, so I won't talk too much more about that. But I will just leave you with the fact that there is a way to prepare. You don't have to go in feeling like, I can't answer this question and I don't know what's going to happen. You can relax. Once you get that mental chatter, either get your brain to think something, or get that mental chatter to stop, then you can start thinking of answers to the questions instead of panicking. Okay, I'm just one person. Does it really work, though? Well, I have an example that a friend of mine from one of my other clubs told me, which I think will hopefully bring this point home, that it really does work. My friend was familiar with a corporate club, and corporate clubs are just clubs that are based within a corporation. Sometimes they're closed and other people aren't allowed to attend, but they are focused within the corporation. And in this particular club, they created it and people started coming. And people started learning what I'm talking about. So they learned how to interview, and they learned how to listen, and they learned how to tell their stories. And they went out and they started getting better jobs. And it kept happening. And it kept happening. And eventually, the corporation figured out what was going on. And the way they decided to stop the brain drain, they shut the club down. Can't get much more powerful than that. No one told them what was going on. They figured it out for themselves. There are a lot more things I would like to tell you, and in the interest of time, I'm going to just skip over this slide very quickly, but I think one of the big things is you can put your Toastmasters awards on your resume. You know how everybody always says, I have good communication skills. Well, when everybody says that, it dilutes it so much that it means nothing. But if you can say, I have a competent communicator award, now you're saying something, because Toastmasters is an international organization and people recognize it as something. I'll skip over some of the others, but if you have questions, please come and talk to us. We're going to be around all through the meeting, so you can ask questions about some of these. But Kathy mentioned something about what happens if I get a job, right? Why even bother to come to Toastmasters? Of course, you want to stay in Toastmasters because it will help you with your job, but what do you do about Launchpad Toastmasters? You have two options. We want you to stay in Launchpad Toastmasters, and that's why we have Thursday evening meetings, so you can do that. But your other option is, if you move somewhere where you can't get to Launchpad Toastmasters, you can transfer your membership somewhere else. That's what I did when I came to Austin. I just transferred my membership. I didn't lose momentum, and I didn't lose any money. So you can't really lose by joining Toastmasters. But why Launchpad Toastmasters? Because there are so many Toastmasters clubs, you could join any of them. You're going to get a lot of the same things. But what's special about this club? Job search. She said it, and I didn't even have to say a thing. I'll tell you my personal story because, as Bill said, I'm a member of 4 clubs. When I started visiting Launchpad Toastmasters, I was already a member of 3 clubs. I would come and I would sit and I would tell them, I am not joining your club. I'm a member of 3 clubs. And you know what they would say? Okay. And I would still participate, and it was all fun. And they never said anything, but over time, I started feeling like more and more a part of this community. And I was like, I'm already part of this community. All I have to do is pay my dues. So I did. I said, I do need 1 more club. I didn't realize I needed a 4th club. And it is because we're job seekers. We all are experiencing the same things. We try to bring in what we're dealing with and what we're feeling and what we're thinking throughout the rest of the week into our meetings. Our table topics often are interview questions so that you get the practice. But more importantly for me, it was the support. I needed the support and the community. Like a lot of you, I've lost my community. I left my community, obviously. But when you lose your job, you lose that place to go. And you may hate your coworkers. It doesn't matter. You need somebody to fight with every day. You need that community. You need a reason to get up and to go someplace. And that's why I'm a member of 4. Because I have to get up 4 days a week so that I can go to Toastmasters clubs and job club here. So can Toastmasters help you? I am convinced that it can. And specifically for job seekers, these are the big things that it's going to help you do. Tell your story so you can write a compelling resume that somebody's going to want to read and not just throw away. So that you can listen, so that you can learn to network more effectively, and so that you can practice those questions that you don't know what's coming. And it will actually help you in other parts of your life. But right now, we're so focused on everything is job search, right? Do you feel that? Everything is job search. So that's how Toastmasters, and specifically Launchpad Toastmasters, can help you with your job search. So stick around. We're going to have a meeting at noon. We would love to have any visitors who would like to stay. You can visit as many times as you want. And I want to tell you one thing. If you come to Launchpad Toastmasters, you're going to meet a lot of people who do know how to make toasts, and they're going to toast to you when you get your new job. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Okay, we are going to do a very short section of table topics, and we will probably be only taking 2 table topics people, but there will be more opportunities in our noon meeting to participate in table topics. So let me introduce you to Norma Hernandez, and she, like myself, has actually started a new job last week. We are both members of Launchpad Toastmasters and have been in and out of this group many times. So please welcome Norma.
So I'm going to be your table topics master for today, and we're going to be really brief. But this is just to give you an idea, sort of a little slice of what Toastmasters does for you. I joined Toastmasters in 2009 when I was out of a job, and I lost my job of 13 years at Dell, and my confidence was shot. And it really, really helped me learn how to answer questions. So that's kind of what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers from the audience. If I could just get one person to come up here, and basically I'm going to, come on up. I'm just going to ask you a question. Might be job related, or it might not. Come on up. Okay, Leslie. What kind of job are you looking for?
What kind of job am I looking for? Well, I've been attempting to look for something in education. It's been slow going since I'm so burnt out I just can't go back into the classroom. So professional development, educational consulting, I am starting my own business doing that as well. So if anybody has anything in that area that does not pay what a classroom teacher makes.
So my table topic is going to be centered a little bit around your background. You have a lot of different things going, a lot of different irons in fire. So can you tell us a little bit about how you stay disciplined?
This is actually, sorry, that's okay. This is actually kind of interesting. I went to a meetup for Round Rock Businesswomen the other day, and the whole focus was staying organized. So, because usually I'm very scatterbrained, I'm just as ADHD as the kids that I taught for years. So I was constantly throwing things and starting things and forgetting to do things. I started lists. I'm on my phone, I've got everything in a calendar, everything is on a to-do list, hopefully in the order that it's completed. Also, one of the things that she mentioned to do was if you bring on tasks, things like doing the dishes, getting the laundry done, anything else of that nature, I've started adding. So when my husband sits there and it's like, what have you done today? I can actually say, look, I did all of this, whether you noticed it or not. Plus, I broke in order to make lunch, go put out that fire, anything else that popped up throughout the day. So I've started very much tracking every little thing that I am doing throughout the day. I applied for this, I went and did this, I ran these errands. And that's how I'm kind of trying to track, although since I'm project coordinating for Leap to Success right now, I actually forgot to do something last night, so I was typing furiously in the back. So things do slip. However, I'm working very, very hard on trying to stay as organized as possible lately.
Very good. So you see, Leslie's actually a good example of thinking on her feet. She had a good, ready answer. It was pretty cohesive. She never even paused, so she'd actually spent some time thinking about it. Sometimes when you get questions from an interviewer, you really don't know how to answer them. What's your favorite color? What color do you represent? What kind of tree would you be if you were a tree? I mean, some kind of weird, obscure question that you really don't know how to answer. I can guarantee you that if you do table topics on a regular basis, you can answer anything. One of the table topics questions that I saw at a contest was, in a battle of blue and red, who would win? Which is the dominant color? And that was literally the table topic contest question. So we actually had 3 really strong answers to that. Table topics teaches you how to answer, how to think on your feet, how to always be able to come up with an answer, and how to be able to convey what it is you're trying to get across. So can I get one more volunteer up here to answer a table topic? A table topic you know nothing about. Let's see how good you are on your feet. Anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the hands. Okay, come on up. The other thing about table topics is that when you're in a Toastmasters meeting, you have 1 to 2 minutes to answer a question. So you really got to be succinct. When you're in an interview, you've got to answer questions, you've got to get your point across, and you've got to do it fast. So table topics really sort of teaches you how to do that effectively. So Jonathan, my question for you is, what is the most challenging part of looking for a job? What is the most challenging part of looking for a job?
I'd kind of almost say a fear of failure. You constantly have, well, first you had to figure out what you want. You had to make a list of the companies you want. And that's a big decision. But once you get the interview, you've got to constantly think about what you're going to say. You have to prep for everything. I think it'd be the preparation for the interview, not the interview itself. Because you're constantly thinking about how to say what you want to say in the context of what was asked. And you can never fully prepare for it, but you have to, it's like taking a test. Except the test is going to be easier because the test is just facts. The context is the hardest part. Context in a question in an interview.
So Jonathan answered that question really quickly. It's pretty succinct. Table topics and Toastmasters in general is going to help you become a better communicator. I'll leave you with one last thing. I lost my job in 2009. When I first lost my job, the crowd was much larger. I'd say it was somewhere in the 200 range in general. There was a lot of people. Yep, and we used to have it in a different place. And all the time, and I attended every meeting for 8 months because I was unemployed for 8 months that first time around. Every time that Kathy would ask people to come up and introduce themselves, I wouldn't do it. I just never had the courage to get up here and say anything about myself. Well, I wanted to be a project manager, but I wasn't a project manager at the time. So I didn't want to come up here and somebody say, well, you're not a project manager. Why did you get up there and say you were? I had all kinds of fears. I can tell you now that I'm a very comfortable speaker up in front of anyone. And I owe all of that to Toastmasters. So I'm not the best speaker in the world, but I am comfortable. And when you are interviewing, there's nothing more important than being comfortable in your own skin. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Okay, we move on to our our next speaker, which is Roxanne Marisaldi. Roxanne has been with Launchpad Toastmasters since its start, back in April of 2010. She has served as both president for 2 terms, secretary twice, and VP of marketing, and she is coming up on being the new VP of education. She has earned both Advanced Speaker Bronze and Advanced Leadership Bronze awards. She is She currently works for IBM as a worldwide offering manager for analytics education. So please, let's welcome Roxanne Marisaldi.
Thank you, Tina. Kermit the Frog said, "It's not easy being green." That was exactly how I felt, green to the gills when I was unemployed. I was anxious about not knowing when I might find the job. Not just a filler job, but a satisfying, discretionary income, pay the bills type job. Will my savings last, or will I go broke? Will I get the job before unemployment runs out? These worries were enough to make me sick. Another type of greenness that I suffered from was in the area of skills. I found a job that I thought would be the job, but it had a requirement for 3 years of Java development experience. I had 3 months of Java training. It was enough that I knew what a null pointer exception was, but I certainly couldn't do any serious developing. I was green as far as Java was concerned, just didn't have the skills. Additionally, I suffered envy. I was green with envy when somebody else got a job that I felt I had all of the experience necessary for. In addition, I think that Launchpad Toastmasters can help us move past that greenness. I'm going to tell you how today. We have leadership programs. Not only do we have the speakers program that most people are aware of, but we also have leadership programs. I'll be talking about the meeting roles, the officers' roles, and the formal leadership programs. Additionally, at the end of the meeting, I'll provide you with some recommendations in terms of what you can do to get started. With the meeting roles, we allow you to take small steps. It's an opportunity to get comfortable in a meeting setting, to become somebody who can get bigger roles as you move along. You start with the small, you get comfortable, and you move towards bigger things. We start with the vote counter role. The vote counter is the person who counts the votes for the speaker, table topic speakers, or evaluators, and at the end of the meeting identifies who won the contest. That's all the vote counter does. We also have timers. In this meeting today, we have a timer. Stephen, if you'll wave your paddle to let them know you're here. Stephen will give me a sign. He'll raise that green palette to let me know when I've come to the ending time of my speech. The advantage of having a timer is that all of the speakers get familiar with the length of time that they're going to be speaking. They also, Stephen also allows the people to manage the time for the meeting overall. So if you tell your spouse, I'm going to be home exactly at 7:53 after the meeting ends, you can just about guarantee you'll be home at 7:53, because it's extremely unusual for a Toastmasters meeting to run long. We also have the grammarian's role. The grammarian is the person who counts the ums and ahs, provides a word of the day, and also listens for interesting turns of phrase that the speaker might use. Then at the end of the meeting, the grammarian provides a report so that all of the speakers can improve their presentations and also identify what they did do well. We additionally have the evaluator role. The evaluator listens to a single speaker and provides feedback to that one speaker. And it goes beyond just listening. The evaluator also describes what the person did well in terms of making eye contact, using gestures, using voice modulation. If you whisper or if you speak loudly, you're conveying different messages. So the evaluator tells the speaker in a sandwich format, good information, good positive feedback first, followed by things to improve, followed by a positive summary regarding how they can do. The general evaluator is the person who provides the context for the grammarian and the evaluator. I lost you? Can you hear me now? Thank you. Okay, so the general evaluator is the one who organizes the grammarian and evaluator. The general evaluator also has the opportunity to provide feedback in terms of the meeting in general. Was the meeting space set up properly? Did the meeting start on time? Were all of the roles populated? All of this is very important for a good meeting. With Launchpad Toastmasters, because we do meet at noon, and because our club members get jobs, sometimes it's difficult to get the roles populated. But we are good at coming up with Plan B. I'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. We also have the Table Topics Master. The Table Topics Master has a role similar to what you saw from Norma. He or she provides short questions or statements that are used as prompts for an extemporaneous speech. And you have a few seconds to think about how you're going to respond, and then you give your response. It's an opportunity to learn how to think on your feet, as Norma mentioned. And they can be serious questions, or they can be fun things, like, what color are you? Or if you were a tree, what type would you be? Have you heard those before? Additionally, we have the Toastmaster. The Toastmaster's responsibility is to organize the whole meeting. In terms of organizing the whole meeting, that can be a challenge. It means that you are responsible for ending the meeting on time, for making sure that all of the roles are filled. This is a really important role particularly in a work setting. Has anyone ever been in a situation where you were responsible for setting up a meeting and you were responsible for getting the primary speaker, and then about 5 minutes before the meeting was supposed to start, the primary speaker called and said, "I'm stuck in traffic. It's going to be 20 minutes before I get there." What do? Tap dance? At Launchpad Job Club, or at Launchpad Toastmasters, we've learned how to deal with those types of situations. When the role's not filled, we know how to come up with Plan B. And our Toastmaster usually is the person most responsible for that and does the best job with that. So it's a great role to take on. In addition to our meeting roles, we also have our club roles, which are similar to any board of directors. We have president, vice president of education, vice president of membership, vice president of public relations, treasurer, secretary, and sergeant at arms. Now, I'm going only to talk about a couple of these. Vice president of education has the responsibility of following your career at Toastmasters and making sure that you get credit for the speeches you give and the leadership roles that you take on. When you have completed all of the objectives in your competent communicator manual or your competent leadership manual, you are awarded recognition for completing those tasks. And just like somebody who graduates from the university, from a graduate program, you get to put letters after your name. I'm an ALB. I'm an Advanced Leader Bronze. So something to look forward to, something that you can include on your resume in addition to any of these officers' roles. If you're an officer at a club, it tells an employer that you are a leader, that you know how to work with the team. It's a great thing to have on a resume. What employer would not want to hire a president of Toastmasters? Moving on to our leadership programs, we have multiple leadership programs. As you see here, we've got our Competent Leader Program, Advanced Leader Bronze, Advanced Leader Silver, and Advanced Leader Gold. This is our Competent Leader Program. I'd like the people in the first row to read that to everybody else. I'm joking. I know that that first page was, too small to read, and even this one might be challenging in the last row. I'm going to tell you about projects 1 to 4 here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I just want to point out that the grammarian role appears in Project 1, Project 2, Project 3, and Project 4. We want you to repeat some of these roles because we feel they're important. Now, I'm going to focus on the first project here. Project 1 is the listening project. This ties in very much with what Tina was talking about. We have an odd counter role, speech evaluator role, grammarian role, and table topic speaker role. You're expected to complete 3 of 4 in this project. And all of the projects are of a similar construction. Here we have projects 5 to 7 represented. In this case, project 5 is a little more advanced. We have planning and implementation. You're expected to complete 3 of 4. The roles here are speaker, general evaluator, Toastmaster, and topics master. So we're having you move to more advanced roles in the meeting situation. And the whole program with the leadership project is like that. Here in projects 8 through 10, we again go to more advanced objectives. With project 10, we have team building. Complete Toastmaster and General Evaluator, or one of the following. You can be a membership campaign chair, a club public relations campaign chair, a club speech contest chair, club special event chair, club newsletter editor, club webmaster. Anybody want to learn to be a better webmaster or learn to be a better newsletter editor? You have the opportunity here. You can do these things and also do the other things that were identified here in terms of contest chair. And again, this is something you can put on your resume. It shows that you have organizational skills. It's an opportunity to improve yourself to your employer. Finally, again, as I mentioned previously, we do have the Advanced Leadership Program. I'm not going to go into detail here because of the time limits that we have, but I did want you to remember that we've got those. And ultimately, I wanted to make some recommendations. Let Launchpad Toastmasters help you avoid being blue, get past the greens, and move. And I think I just lost my voice. No, there I am. Things that you can do specifically. Talk to the Toastmaster members about Launchpad Toastmasters. Bill, Tina, Norma, and I will all be available after the meeting from 11:30 to noon until we start our meeting at noon. You can ask us questions. You can ask me about my t-shirt. There's Toastmaster information here on the t-shirt. Additionally, I wanted to point out, as a Toastmaster member, we do get newsletters, magazines. These magazines can provide you more information. I got this one on Wednesday, and it specifically talks about authentic leadership. Finally, another couple things you can do. You can visit Launchpad Toastmasters meetings. You can visit the one today at noon. If you don't have time today, you can visit on another noon, or you can visit on a Thursday evening. The agenda and the information regarding Toastmasters meetings is in the handout that we've left on the chair. So if you aren't sitting on a chair with the handout, grab one from the chair next to you. You'll find information about our times and places on that sheet. Additionally, we recommend that you check our calendar on our website, because on Thursdays we do have alternating schedules, so make sure you're coming to the right Thursday meeting. Finally, if you don't feel there's a fit here, you can't come to the noon meetings, you can't come to the 6:45 p.m. Thursday meetings, visit other Toastmasters clubs. There's more than one club in Austin. There's a lot of clubs in Austin. Find the one that fits. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Bill?